Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at yadayah.com.
Yay, score. That was the sign of a touchdown. We made one last adjustment to the introduction. We prefer the listen, learn, and live outro to the intro as opposed to subscribe and that sort of thing, because we really don't give two hoots what you choose to do. It's up to you. If it is meaningful to you, you're going to subscribe to this message. If it's not, then you're not. So last thing we're going to do is ask you to do so. But we will encourage you to listen, to learn, so that you can continue to live. We have Will with us here. It's good to have you back, Will. You were one of the handsome fellows in that introduction. I think you're paired with Roger Bankston, aren't you?
That's right. And I love it. I thought they did a great job with those. Yeah.
And I really like the fact that we have Mariah and Dipo and John from the Gen Zers all intermixed in our presentation. So it's it's fun. The Wookiee is disappointed that he's been exiled currently, but boy, the Wookiee got a lot of play, so he can't be too upset. And
he's just bemoaning the royalties. That's all.
He is. Well, yeah, he'll get the royalties on the continue to play. There was something 2 days ago that took place in Israel. We were going to cover it yesterday, but we had Dipo on the program, and with Dipo, I just find it a marvelous opportunity for us to celebrate the songs that he has created the visuals for. Sometimes, in fact, two of the songs we played yesterday, I wrote the lyrics to. Normally, it's Leah's lyrics. She always is responsible for the score, and she provides the suggestion as what she wants as the backdrop to it. And Dipo has been a stunningly effective, talented video choreographer of these songs. And what we found yesterday was just so interesting. As I asked him, where did you hewn that talent? Because that is the level of production that he was creating for these songs is theatrical. And he said, I felt a very strong call to contribute. And I wanted to contribute in any way that I could. And I knew there was lots of ways that I could contribute, including building websites. And he says, I'm fairly comfortable in a lot of different venues. So I was asked if I could create some visuals for songs. And this is how I learned that craft. And I mean, he's already theatrical in his production. What a wonderful story, too.
The important part of that to me is that he didn't go away. I mean, he had contacted and reached out to me, and and I'm like, hey, I'll get you with Joe, and you can work on the website. And then that didn't work out, and that's not going to work out. What else you got? And then we put him on the glossary, and he's like, hey, I'm done with that. Now, what do you know what I'm saying? As opposed to this, what can I do? He's like, literally, I can do anything. I'll figure it out, and I'll do it. He didn't go away.
No, he worked on the glossary for a while. He was willing to do anything, and that just shows the right kind of attitude. And he stuck with it. And now he's such a contributor. I can't even imagine being part of the witness experience on the Temple Mount without him. I mean, you want him to be, I was going to say standing beside us, but those songs there's so many of them, they're so long. We'll probably be sitting as they play above us. But it should be seen that way. And I think the fact that he doesn't look like the rest of Israel. Not that I do or any of us do, but the fact is that he doesn't look that role is going to reinforce something that's powerfully important to Israel. That you were chosen, but you didn't choose God in return. And so the covenant was open through the Torah to everyone. And this includes our brother Dipo, whom we love as family. And if you want to be part of this covenant now, your old attitudes have to go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the covenant as it really is. And if you want to participate, you don't get to change it to suit your peculiarities. I just think it's and by the way, there are women in it too. And I know you don't like to spend time around women, but you're going to have to get over yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually use Yahweh's name, and you don't like to do that, but as I say, get over yourselves. It's time you change. So anyways, beautiful presentation. Okay, day before yesterday in Israel, we had the man that I disrespect second most in the world today. The most reprehensible man in the world today is Donald Trump, far and away. But the devil's advocate is Netanyahu.
Mm-hmm.
And while we dearly love Israel, and we do these programs on behalf of Israel, calling Israel back home, Israel's a tough damn audience. And unfortunately, Israel is committing suicide with every post, with every breath. And the most suicidal of all Jews at this point is Netanyahu. He is in this endless march of war, as if death somehow is going to become Israel. Mm-hmm. He decided to do as I knew he would, try to recover from his utter failures on October 7th of 23. By invading Gaza and destroying Gaza, he destroyed Israel.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
He did not destroy Hamas. And he never did go after the actual foe, which is Islam. He simply destroyed Israel. He didn't commit genocide. There's more Muslims in Gaza than ever before. But he might as well committed genocide of Jews, because he galvanized the entire world hatred over Israel for what he did. And now that we are on the precipice of having the world's economies and even food supplies tragically compromised because of his ongoing desire to re-engage in war with Iran, the world's going to double down on him. And they're not going to double down on him, isolated him. He took all of Israel with him. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, he is very difficult to oppose in Israel because they have the godforsaken parliamentary system, which is the system of bribes. Parliamentary, what they would call democracy, I won't call it democracy, is the worst system. I think it's worse than even having a monarch. And that's because the voters don't actually vote for men or women. They vote for political parties. And you can see just how violent the shifts are. Like in England with the parliamentary system, Starmer's party won with 2/3 of the vote. And 2 years later, he didn't have even 10%. That kind of swing is just shows you that there's no substance to any of this. Mm-hmm. And in Israel, what happens, because there are some 12 different parties, you're all assigned, based upon the number of votes, you're assigned seats in the Knesset. And those are called mandates. And so each vote totals some number of seats. And because Israel has two very large, exceedingly inflexible minorities who vote like it was a religious duty, like they're ordered to do so. There's no democracy in it, it's religion. And that would be all of the anti-Zionist religious parties, the ultra-Orthodox parties, the Haredim and the ultra-Orthodox parties surrounding them. They collectively represent a little more than 20% of Israel. And then you have the Muslims that represent, and they have parties, there's Israeli Muslims, and they represent a little over 20% of Israel. And so you cannot offset in a parliamentary system a bloc that is bribed to support one candidate, one political party. They are bribed into supporting Likud because Likud has done a deal with the devil. They have said that they will take Israel down to allow the Haredi to be parasites, the Black Death of Israel, the Black Plague, such that they are not only exempted from defending Israel in the IDF, but they're paid enormous amounts of money to opt out of Israeli society. They lie about being Torah students. They're not Torah students. They're Talmud students. They wallow in rabbinical rubbish all day long. And they're paid to be useless. In fact, useless would be a favorable thing. Parasites are not useless. They're counterproductive. But they are literally paid to remove themselves from any potentially productive role within the society. They don't teach them math. They don't teach them sciences. They don't teach them languages like English. And so they're only schooled in rabbinic rubbish all day long. And therefore, they're prohibited from being productive. They can't be around women. Their diet is so restrictive that they can't be integrated into any functional system. Everything to them is a rule, and they play holier than thou with their goddamn rules. So they're useless, and worse, they're parasites. And the Likud party has long bribed them to saying, so long as you vote for us, we'll keep up the stipends, we'll keep you out of the IDF, and we'll create this little cushy nest for you. And this 20% is the death of Israel. So the only way to oppose a bloc like that with the remaining 80% of voters, you really don't have 80%. You only have 40%. It means you have 60% because you have another 20% of voters that are the Muslim parties. And the Muslim parties have only once joined a government, and that was only briefly. That was the joint party of Naftali and Lapid. So with those two groups being a 40% block, of the 60% in the middle, Israel is pretty divided. Divided between moderates and left and far right. And so there is really no way to get enough votes to have the 61 mandates to elect a prime minister without the Muslim votes if you're opposed to Netanyahu's bloc. And those that are in the middle in Israel and move towards the right aren't going to tolerate a government that is with even the most moderate of the Muslims. Although Netanyahu, one time when he couldn't form a government, tried to woo them into his camp. So it's not like Netanyahu has any credulity in this response, in this respect. So it puts them in a very, very difficult position. Now, most recently, there has been a massive, this was 2 days ago, a massive shift in Israeli polls. And it's because Netanyahu did something that only a psychopath can do. He mocked a man who lost his son in a war that he himself had caused.
The goal.
And so this is Eisenkot, who's right now his lead contender, who was their defense minister, general in the IDF, considered a pretty decent human being. He has, the charisma of wallpaper, but he's a decent human being, and that would be a huge improvement over Netanyahu. Unfortunately, he is in favor of the two-state dissolution of Israel, so he is a libertard. And he's not electable without RAAM, the United Arab coalition. And with them, he can't get any center-right votes. So it's a real mess. I don't know what happens other than if they can't form a government, the current government just continues until they can form a government. And the only way they're going to be able to form a government is they'll have to have everybody on the opposition. And then even then, it's not tenable because it will break apart as the Lapid Natali government did not long ago. Only lasted 2 years. So this is where we are now. The thing that caused the massive movement in Israel is just to show how despicable Netanyahu is in this ad. That's an AI ad that he created, and what it shows, and we'll play it here, is that it's Eisenkot's son died in Gaza, and he lost 2 nephews also in Gaza, while Netanyahu is the one who not only necessitated the war for being asleep on 10/7 and for coming up with a plan that was disastrous for Israel. His son was off suntanning in Florida. And he was empowered solely because he protected the ultra-religious from having to serve. And yet he had the audacity to create an ad that has him walk by and past and through his deceased son to embrace the moderate Arab party in Israel. And every Israeli that has seen it, apart from the brain dead like Vivid, who's a major poster, pro-Israel poster that is probably the most damaging person online for Israel, wants to vomit. So we can show it if you've got one that plays here. Here he is.
לאיזנקוט אין ממשלה, בלי יאיר גולן והמפלגות הערביות.
Now, of course, beyond the insensitivity, and that's not just sensitivity, the complete lack of a moral compass for Netanyahu to create an AI ad that has his chief rival walk past and ignore the son that he lost to a war that Netanyahu caused to happen by his negligence. And then embrace Rom when Netanyahu himself has embraced Rom. And Netanyahu's son is sunbathing in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Is the kind of scum that we witness in the White House of the United States.
Yeah. Oh.
There should be no recovery for this. If you are right wing, I don't give a crap that you don't like Eisenkot. Doesn't matter. You can't continue to support this fool. And you need to get outside of your own blinders, because he has destroyed Israel around the world. He has universally turned the entire world against Israel. Israel is the most hated state in the world by a wide margin. They're isolated from everybody, and the only country that gives them any lip service is the United States. And the United States, the game's over. I mean, young Americans are almost universally anti-Israel. The Democrats are almost universally anti-Israel. And Trump is the great betrayer that was spoken of in the prophets. So, and he has already decided that he is done with Israel.
Yeah, I was looking through the feed today to try to get to this because this post was from a couple of days ago, and I'm scrolling. I'm like, oh, I can't find it. Maybe they took it down. You know, I mean, once it's on the internet, it's out there. But I'm like, maybe they had the good sense to say, hey, gotcha, it was in bad taste. They're going to throw some staffer under the bus. You know what I mean? And we're going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. It's still out there. None of
that
is happening.
Comfortable with it.
Yeah. And of course, the opponents of Netanyahu were going to play it and play it and play it.
Yeah.
And they should.
And they should. No question. Yeah.
Yeah, they should. All right, sir. We'll let's go back to the top of our feed here, and we'll talk about the items in the news. Something happened yesterday that is vomit delicious here in the United States, and that was the legacy of the warmonger, the devil's advocate there on the left. Israel's not the only country in the world with a devil's advocate in politics. Lindsey Graham, the now deceased Lindsey Graham, was the devil's advocate. He was a maniacal despot in America, fanning the flames of death and destruction everywhere. His legacy is to have the U.S. Congress in a narrow vote approve the $1.1 trillion defense appropriations bill. There was the longest time that the Department of Defense was $200 to $300 billion, and still it was about 80% of the entire world spending was the United States. And it jumped up to $400-500 billion, and it was $600 billion for a good long time. And now it's 1.1 trillion for a country that is 40 trillion in debt, and that has just started a war that they cannot end, that is destroying the very petrodollar that is underpinning this deficit, so that this piece of shit here with the gold tie has destroyed the country in doing this. But the thing that pisses me off more than anything, did you guys see Hexeth, the asshole, as he was in the U.S. Senate, and the way that he responded to congressmen as he pleaded for the $1.1 billion?
Yeah, so
well, I'm going to tell you, I don't think I've ever seen a bigger asshole. And he was just, I would have expected better of Satan. That is the most obnoxious scumball on the planet. And so here he is lying about every which thing. Well, if you don't vote for this, then you want Iran to have a bomb. No, asshole. Iran didn't have a bomb and could have had a bomb at any time over the last 20 years and chose not to have a bomb. And the only reason they're going to have a goddamn bomb is because you have bombed them a second time. And the only way they can keep you from bombing them a third time is to have a bomb. So you forced them into having one. You haven't kept them from having one. You are the problem, not the cure. And then they all bellyache about the Strait of Hormuz being closed. Well, it wasn't closed before you started the second war with Iran. These pieces of shit here, I mean, just absolute human excrement, are doing everything that is counterproductive and then blaming everybody else for it and say, if you don't go along with them, then you're in favor of Iran having a bomb. Listen, at this point, Iran having a bomb would actually be an enormously favorable thing. Why? Because it would keep the United States and this asshole from continuing to destroy America and the world by this endless war.
No doubt.
It would end this war if they had one, or if they are willing to deploy it. It will end this war. So probably a good thing at this point. I know Israel doesn't want to hear that, but they're not going to use that bomb in Israel. The prophets are already very clear. The prophets have said exactly how Iran's going to deal with Israel, and it's not with a nuclear bomb. They're going to send 3 to 4 million mujahideen into Israel. You can read it in Yoel, you can read it in Yahowah, you can read it in Zechariah. They all tell the exact same story, and it's of Jewish women being raped, Jewish men being bludgeoned to death, 2 out of every 3 Jews dying by thugs jumping through windows to enter their homes. That is not a nuclear bomb.
You've said it many
Muslims
times,
run
Yada.
amok.
There's no benefit to Iran nuking Israel. They don't want to nuke it. They want Israel, and they'd like to keep it somewhat intact.
Correct, particularly the Temple Mount, because that's
right.
third holiest site where they have their crappy trophy scars. So no, they don't want to eradicate it. They just want to exterminate Jews. And
strategically, they don't need a bomb. But like to your point, now with what Trump has done, he's cornered them into okay. Now we have to have a bomb.
Now they have to have a bomb, and the high likelihood is they already have a bomb and probably have an arsenal of bombs. And they're really only in this now debating how do we go about this? Do we deploy it underground and show we have a bomb? Big deal. The United States, this piece of satanic garbage here would go ballistic. Do they use it where it would count over America's fleet? Mm-hmm. Which would be completely appropriate for Iran to do based upon what America has done. And that's the message. And then what would Mr. Satan here do under those circumstances? Or do they use it in one of the Arab fiefdoms, the Sunni fiefdoms that have been so hostile to them and so supportive of the United States and the petrodollar system that is trying to rip Iran apart? And listen, I'm not advocating for Iran. Iran is an Islamic theocracy. There's really no difference in my view of Iran and any one of the other 55 Islamic majority countries. I am the foremost expert on what's wrong with Islam. You can read my 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion. They're free at yadayah.com. I know more about Islam than anybody alive in this world by a long shot. And I know how reprehensible it is. And so I would be opposed to all 55 Islamic majority countries. So I'm not advocating on behalf of Iran, but I can tell you what Israel and the United States have done to Iran and to themselves because of what they've done to Iran and to the world because of this is just dead wrong. And there's no solution for it. And so we're now in a position where it's going to, it already has ignited a regional war, and this piece of shit just keeps on doubling down.
Yeah,
last night it is POTUS after all. If you just lowercase the T and the U in POTUS, you do have POS. So I'm using the term correctly.
Yeah. Last night he on his Truth Social account put something out about if Iran attacks one more tanker, for every tanker they attack, we're going to attack a
bridges, power plant, and other civilian infrastructure.
Iran comes back with, oh, hey, on their official Twitter page or whatever, comes back and says, oh, hey, by the way, did you know that these 4 power plants, there's 2 in Saudi Arabia and 1 in UAE and 1 Kuwait, they are directly linked to U.S. American bases. They supply critical electricity for the attacks that are being done on the United States. Pretty much wink, wink. Hey, these 4 power plants in the UAE and Saudi Arabia are now targets of ours. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, and Trump will say if they attack another ship, then we will double down and attack them far worse. But they're not attacking any ship that doesn't violate the memorandum of understanding. The memorandum of understanding is that the passage through the Strait of Hormuz is controlled by Iran. That's what it says. You should ought to read it. I understand there's nobody that's literate at Fox News, and they are blaming the Iranians for violating the agreement. That's just not true. There was a procedure for transportation outside and into the Strait of Hormuz, and the memorandum of understanding ascribes all control of the Strait of Hormuz to Iran. And so the United States, just because he is a piece of shit, decided that no, they would be big time operators and welch on the deal that he had signed and try to bring sneak tankers through an Oman corridor. And in the Oman corridor, the Iranians did exactly what they said they were going to do if they tried to do this, as opposed to honor the deal that they had made. And so they attacked them. But the terms of the agreement were countermanded by Trump, not by Iran. So He is just a piece of shit. This is Satan incarnate right there. His devil's advocate is now dead. The world's a better place for that. And 7 years from now, Trump will not have the luxury of being dead. He's going to be sent off to Sheol for a very, 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 very long time. This is the first conundrum that I solved when I started doing as Yahowah had asked me to do. After I finished my work on Islam, exposing and condemning Islam on behalf of his people, I resolved this conundrum. And I'm the first person to ever do it. And it's one of the most important insights ever, and I think in human history, is that in religion, heaven or hell is one or the other, is the terror that is used to control the masses. Mm-hmm. Whether it be Islam, where the torment in hell is perpetrated by Allah turning people over a cauldron of fire, making them drink molten pitch and roasting their skin off only to give them a new skin so we can roast them some more. Or in Christianity, where it's perpetual torment and fire. Fear of hell is what's used to control people so that they become easy to manipulate. And if you're a reasonable person, which the faithful are not ever, the religious are not ever reasonable, but as a reasonable person, you would know that a God who says, you will either worship me, you will either obey me, you will either capitulate to me, or I will see to it that you suffer an eternity in hell, that sign could not have been a sane deity. That individual was not capable of creating life or this universe, and that God would be sadistic, akin to Satan, and unworthy of any attention, much less worship. So if you're a rational person, you know that if that is what the God said, that God is not God. He is a demonic influence. And that is what keeps a huge percentage of atheists and agnostics, is that in every religion, that's what they propose, with exception of Judaism, where they deny everything. They deny heaven, they deny hell, they deny salvation. It's a religion for the purpose of being religious. So what I learned when I started translating Yahowah's testimony, and I began on the book of Hoshea, which you'd think is a kind of an odd place to start because a friend of mine, the man that actually taught me to write 25 years ago, and write in the form that you could actually compose a book. Anyway, that's a skill set that not a lot of people have. And he taught me how to do that. And he was writing a book himself, which I named for him, Future History. And in that book, he began with a analysis of the book of Hoshea. And he asked me to review it. And I said, well, okay, I'll do so. So I decided I would go right to the core of it and see if I could understand it from the Hebrew. And that's when I began to translate. And I've probably rewritten my translation of Hoshea now 15 times over the last 25 years. But even in that first time, without much skill in the craft, I recognized that God was saying that the vast preponderance of souls simply die. The end of their mortal life is the end of their life. There is no punishment, there is no reward. And he recognized that his whole covenant concept is elevating a certain select group of souls to be with him in Shamaim in the seventh dimension. And yet he speaks quite often of a place called Sheol, which is equivalent to a black hole. It would be a place, there's no light, so there's no fires, there's no torture, and there's no bodies. It's strictly a place for souls to be incarcerated who have promoted things that have misled many people or harmed many people. And so you know now that there's three outcomes, and that the preponderance of people are neither of those things. They don't get to heaven. I mean, we're talking about 99% of human souls don't go to heaven, and they don't suffer an eternity. So the argument this person is making is what you call a straw man. It is projecting on God something he did not say. It is attacking a religious belief, but there's no purpose in attacking a religious belief because the religious are too stupid to be swayed by evidence and reason. There's not a single religious person that's going to change their belief because you proved that their belief was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these posts do, and Ugo Cannon is one of like 10 bots out there that do this constantly. All they really do is aggravate people because the religious are never going to be persuaded by logic. If God, in fact, said that, the claim would be true. But because he didn't say that, it's a straw man argument. But once you understand that there are three outcomes for a human soul, and that the majority don't know God, God doesn't know them, they didn't mislead people, they were simply misled, or they were apathetic, and that they have the benefit of the life that God made possible. They had the benefit of free will that God made possible. They had access to the Torah and prophets that he inspired, but chose either a religious alternative, a political alternative, a conspiratorial alternative, and therefore they didn't know him. He doesn't know them. There's certainly not going to be an eternal life. God's not going to take such a person and say, "Yeah, you completely squandered this life and were lost the entire time. So nothing I can do with you." And you didn't, though you weren't an Auschwitz guard or an inquisitioner. Therefore, you weren't a jihadi tormenting my people and raping them. So death is the end of your life. Goodbye. That's just it.
Simply put, that third door made a relationship possible.
Yes,
it's completely two doors is a non-starter, and for reasonably bright people, they don't engage, and for the religious, they don't really give a shit because they don't need it to be rational. They're just happy to be floating along with nonsense. But that third option made a relationship possible with God. Yeah.
Right, it does. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not in a relationship. You're a pawn.
That's right.
Yeah, you're nothing but a pawn in a game without the third outcome. Mm-hmm. And I came to recognize it 25 years ago, and it was something that no one else had ever perceived, no one had ever written about, no one had ever
and it's
promoted.
Still among the most profound, Yada, of all the things.
Is.
I mean, it really sets the whole thing in motion to get going and embark on a relationship with Yahowah. Because if you don't have that, well, it's not really worth it, right?
Yeah, it is. It was a door that opened up everything to evidence and reason. From that point on, you can think your way through every eventuality and every opportunity that God provides based upon that knowledge. And it was sitting there in the book of Hoshea. Now, the primary theme of the book of Hoshea is important for Israelis to know. And that theme is that Hoshea was asked to marry a religious prostitute. And the reason was that God wanted empathy. He wanted Hoshea to have an appreciation of what he had endured up to this point with Israel. And that would have been from year 2000, and all the way up to Hoshea's time, which was 700-ish BCE. So from the very time that he engaged with Abraham and Sarah, through Yishak, Rebecca, all but Leah, but certainly Rachel, Jacob and Esau, and all of their sons, they were obnoxious. And it went worse from there. I mean, I'm dealing now with Hoshea in the 10th chapter, or Isaiah in the 10th chapter, and he's writing this travel log as to how we get to the Choder. And every word that he brings up is right in your face, Israel. This is who you are, and it's really nasty. So in the book of Hoshea, Yahowah is telling Israel through the prophet Hoshea that your religion, your propensity to be religious, has caused you to be completely unappealing to me. You have broken the covenant, and the first condition of the covenant is that you have to walk away from religion, politics, and conspiracy. And so you have wallowed in religion, and that's not salvageable. I can't fix that. And while you're religious, I can't even relate to you. So I'm divorcing you. This is my letter of divorce to you. I am leaving you. I'm going to heaven, and I will not return to you until you return to me. And that sets up the entire story, because the return is only with the remnant. There's two ingatherings prior to that, Shabuah and Towrah, one in about 10 months and the other 7 years. And then this final remnant, and that's all that returned to Yahowah. And so, the Israel posters like to have, well, Hashem has our back. No, he doesn't. None of your back, none of your side, nothing. He is, at this point, all he is angry and disgusted at you because you become so religious and so political. So that's the principal theme of the book of Hoshea. It's the divorce decree between Yahowah and Israel. Now, because he divorced Yahowah and Israel doesn't mean that he went and found somebody else. Israel is still his chosen, and he's going to wait for them to return and choose him back in return. Doesn't mean you're excluded if you're not part of Israel, because you can become part of Israel. The Torah provides a way for that to occur. Oh, let's play just a little bit of this. Where are they? What are they singing to?
Yeah.
What are they bowing to? Well, it's not a mosque. It's the Dome of the Rock. The mosque is to the right of that. If this is the western side. Religion's a cancer. God looks at those feminized religious men there, and all he can say is, I'm disgusted by you. Those will be some of the first eradicated on Towrah, when God gets rid of all religion. And the religion he hates most of all is Judaism. He hates Christianity and Islam too, but Judaism is the mother of those other religions. That dome will come down in 4 years. And it's a reprehensible story that caused it to be there. And it flows out of Muhammad's satanic verses, where he put 3 goddesses that were part of Kaaba worship into the Quran: Alat, Manat, and Al-Uzza. And when his father-in-law, that's kind of an odd term for Abu Bakr, because Abu Bakr was such a creep that he tossed his 6-year-old daughter into bed with Muhammad and shut the door. When she's 6 years old, and at the time he's 66. So he's quite the creep. But he complained. He says, you were promoting a monotheistic religion, and now you've just taken 3 of the Kaaba's goddesses and included them in, and they actually didn't include them in with all that Al-Rahman and Al-Rahim and the Rabbi, which is my Lord, were gods prior to Allah. But nevertheless, the way it reads now is that Muhammad's excuse was that all of Allah's messengers speak on behalf of Satan. That's going from the frying pan into the fire, isn't it? And it is after that statement that Muhammad imagines that he left that next night while he was sleeping in bed with his sex toy. She was probably 9 at the time. And he imagined he got out of Kaabaville on a flying donk mule. So now, if you think asses have wings and can fly, then you might believe Muhammad's story. And he flew, of course, to Jerusalem because he couldn't get to Allah through the Kaaba, which was in Petra at the time. So he had to fly to Jerusalem to meet his wannabe God, because gods, I guess, only hang out in Jerusalem. And he landed the donk mule. He said that such that he was could meet with all the big shots in the temple, but the temple had been destroyed 6 centuries earlier. And then, of course, he had discussions with all of the bigwigs of Towrah fame, except that, of course, none of them were around. And he began his journey to visit Allah in heaven by going through hell, where all the inhabitants were women who were being tortured. And he then, goes up to Allah, and all he gets from Allah is, "I want to be mooned 50 times a day." It's ludicrous. And this piece of crap boil here that will be lanced is supposed to be over the hoofy print, as the flying ass leapt through hell to visit Allah. So it's an utter embarrassment to Islam, and yet there's not one in 1,000, maybe not one in 1,000,000 Jews that knows the story, and so they don't tell the story, so they pray to the damn building. What the hell's wrong with it?
And this is so weird. This Yeshai Fleischer, right? You can't stop Jewish Jerusalem from being rebuilt because Hashem, Allah, will it. I mean,
Yes.
Talk about your amalgamation.
I didn't get that.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. I noticed it, and I when I posted this, and Hashem might as well be Allah. Hashem is Satan.
Yeah,
Allah is
right.
Satan. So he got that part right, not the way that he meant to get it, but he did get that right. That Allah is Satan. When you study the Quran, it's the only intelligent conclusion, because he spends all of his time in hell torturing people. And the Quran has entire surahs that are devoted to Satan and to demons. And Muhammad is demonic. So it clearly is Satan. And if you don't think so, then you go to Yahowah.com, you read the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion, and you'll be convinced before you're even through the first volume. Now, Hashem is one of the great tragedies of Judaism. It assures that every practitioner of Judaism is excluded from heaven, because the negation of Yahweh's name is unforgivable. That's what he wrote in the third statement on the first of the 2 tablets, is that the negation of an erasure of his name as Yahweh is unforgivable. So rabbis excluded all Jews that believe them from heaven and from Yahweh. And they replaced Yahweh's name with Hashem, which is the name. It's one of the great travesties, one of the great crimes that has ever been permitted. And if it wasn't for that crime, there would be no Christianity, there'd be no Islam. So that crime not only cost Jews access to heaven, it created their 2 most villainous foes.
Yeah.
And these,
the rabbis today have Jews around the world celebrating their Choli Day of Tisha B'Av, right?
Tisha B'Av,
Where
exactly.
25 days of
That's right.
fasting, or 25 hours of what the.
Literally,
Think about the consequence.
destruction of all their tragedies.
Yes.
Create a national holiday to celebrate or
yeah, our
memorialize all our
tragedies.
tragedies. And who's responsible for those tragedies?
the Jewish religious are responsible for all of them, and Jews themselves and their opposition to God. So, yep. Good luck there, pals. You are completely and totally inept. Oh, this is a dignified. President Trump attends a dignified transfer of 4
Don't you
pages.
just love that dignified transfer?
A dignified transfer. He's got Hexeth, who is a piece of shit. He's Satan incarnate. And this is a dignified transfer. Listen, there is nothing dignified about dying based on a lie for nothing.
Yeah, dignity for who?
Yeah. None of the people who have died thus far in this war, or who died in any of America's war, died defending America. I'm sorry, but you just didn't die defending America. None of you. There isn't a war that America's military fought to defend America. You know, You didn't fight World War I to defend America. You fought World War I to defend J.P. Morgan and his investments in the UK. You fought the Spanish-American War because of American colonialism and imperialism. You fought the Revolutionary War because the likes of Sam Adams and John Hancock were running competitive tea smuggling operations, and they wanted to get rid of the British competition. I mean, this is the truth. Yes, I can understand the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, but they bombed Pearl Harbor because of the stupidity of America leading up to the statecraft of America leading up to that position, and the double stupidity of leading all of those warships there. Now, of course, the America knew this was going to happen, which is why the only ships that had any value, which were the aircraft carriers, were gone, and the battleships, which had no value of any kind, were sitting there as sitting targets of something that the Japanese could go kill, and the Japanese didn't do it because they were going to invade Hawaii, or they were going to invade, which of course America stole, or they were going to invade the West Coast or East Coast of America. They had no intent to do any of those things. So sending people off to die, hundreds by the 100,000, wasn't to defend American freedom.
No,
it was to make people fabulously wealthy and to create what was an immoral choice, sending overall 400,000 Americans to their death to avenge the death of 3,000 is pretty damn stupid. Yep. And there was so many better ways, both in Europe and in the Pacific theater, to deal with the things that had happened. And I've talked a lot about how you dealt with the Pacific theater, and it was a very easy solution. And we just chose to sacrifice American soldiers as opposed to do it the intelligent way. And the same thing was true with hanging in Great Britain for 2 years and then sending men into the teeth of the German resistance. What we did was asinine and caused the deaths of lots of people. And ultimately, we prevailed in the war because we became terrorists. We didn't prevail in the war by machismo. We firebombed German cities, burning women and children alive every night. And then we started bombing Tokyo and Japanese cities, such that we burned women and children alive night after night, sometimes killing 50,000 people a night. We became murderous. That's how we prevailed. It was disgusting what we did. So you think there's a dignity in serving in the military? No, there is no dignity. You surrender your dignity. And the military is corrupt in every which way. Monetarily corrupt. They have the 1.1 trillion that's just been given to the U.S. military. About a third of that will be graft. About a third of it will have no value whatsoever. And look at the wars they have started. Look how disastrous what the U.S. military did in Libya. Look how disastrous what they did in Syria. Look how disastrous what the American military did in Iraq and Afghanistan and Somalia. Now in Iran. It's a force that is incredibly disruptive, murderous, and hasn't done anything worthwhile in a very, very long time. So there is no romancing of senseless death. It's one of the great travesties of propaganda, is creating this illusion that if you go and you die in the military, that you're some kind of hero. No. If you were one of those who was either killed or maimed in Iraq or Afghanistan, you were played. You were foolish to have served there. Yep. And you made a bad situation worse, which is why the suicide deaths of veterans of those wars are so egregiously high.
Yeah. That's the story for me on this. Is I spoke about it 2 days ago, is the number 4. 2 days ago, we had the one little girl's picture that we wanted to circulate that was lost in this war with Iran, and then that we saw the missing guy. So there was 2, and now we have 4, and the president's saluting them coming. We're starting to ramp up. Hey, we need to defend these avenge these deaths of our American patriots and go get them. And the only way to get them is a land war.
Soon he's going to have 400 and then 4,000 and maybe 40,000 the way that he's going.
Yep.
He is insane, sufficiently insane to invade Iran. I'm not saying he will invade Iran, but I'm saying that he is sufficiently insane. Yeah. His Secretary of War is sufficiently immoral. And we have shown that there isn't any flag officer in America that's got any character. So they'll commit war crimes. They'll sacrifice the lives of others so long as, well, they're home safe and have these fancy homes given to them by the government and fancy airplanes to fly around in and chauffeur-driven cars and big stipends and the like. They'll continue to support what is literally insane. There's nothing dignified about any of those people standing there.
No.
Oh, here's
this point forward, the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. Well, they'll only shoot a ship in the Strait of Hormuz if you tell them to go violate the agreement that you signed. So if you don't tell them to trust you and violating the agreement that you signed, there won't be any ships shot down. And if you continue to tell them to violate the agreement, you have put Iran in a position where they have absolutely no choice but to do that. Because if they didn't do that and you violated the agreement and their control over the Strait of Hormuz ends, then they put themselves in a position where the United States can annihilate them. So since they can't put 90 million people in the position where the United States can annihilate them, their only control mechanism is that strait. And so you jeopardize the cargo and personnel to tell people whether it's Guardian of the Sea or Project Liberty that they should trust you, and circumventing the Iranian control, they're going to be shot. People are going to die. And then you're going to use that to justify doubling down on a war, doing things that are international crimes. Blowing up bridges and power plants is a war crime.
War crime.
Yeah. The Houthis are in the mix too. They have one confirmed ship that they have attacked in Saudi Arabia in the Red Sea.
And,
so
and the
they're shutting down the other strait.
Yeah, and the Yemenite Muslims have in the last month they have pirated 2 ships. So there's 3 down in the Red Sea.
Yeah,
it's a regional war now. Out of way, Donald J.
Think about that. We have another strait that's gonna be closing down in the Red Sea, and we're working out a deal now with Saudi Arabia so that they can go nuclear. and you've pointed out a number of times that that's not to boil water when you're sitting on a sea of oil. I mean, I have never seen a man more destructive than Donald Trump. I cannot believe what he is doing geopolitically in no time. Things that have been in place for better or for worse for decades, even more than that. This man has come in and he's just toppled the entire apple cart.
Yeah, he is the most insane and out of touch, destructive, deceitful, egomaniacal narcissist to have ever led a country. In all the long history of humanity, we know of lots of really, really disgusting leaders.
Yeah.
Nero, Caligula. Our example, Genghis Khan was a pretty ruthless son of a bitch. Tamerlane, disgusting. Muhammad, disgusting. There's been a lot of really big creeps out there. Stalin, Mao Zedong, Hitler. When we put it all together, You can look at the film of the speeches. You can read the words of the most villainous men who have ever led nations or armies. And it's already to the point where Donald Trump is the worst of them.
Yeah.
And he's just getting going.
And that's remarkable.
This is the man that the prophet spoke, that was the incarnation of Satan. He is betraying Israel and the world. And we have, of all things, Twistians that are enabling him. So the religion that turned God into a man so feeble that men could kill, and whose symbol is a dead God on a stick. Those who are so easily to fool are the very fools that have promoted Satan to president of the United States, and he is destroying the world. He is already and will continue to be the single worst human who has ever lived. Congratulations. I appreciate your attention in this matter. When created, now this is just silly. I mean, how could you not know the answer to this question? If Adam died at the age of 930 years, which is interesting because that's Noah's time as well, but he was not born as a baby. It was created as a full-on adult. Yahweh can do that pretty regularly. It's something that he's pretty good at and has done it a bunch of times. Then if he was created, so what did they use to start the count? So you think you have to have a pregnancy to start a count? I mean, if you go and you go build something, you go build a house, do you start your count when the wood for the house was a seedling, or do you start? Built the house in year 2000, therefore it's 26 years old. He conceived Adam, who, by the way, wasn't wearing a dress. He was not transgender. And the truth of the matter is, he was 6 years old. He had been in Eden for 6 years when Adam was moved out of the garden for failing to listen to God's instructions. It's that story, same thing. Listen, learn, live. He forewent the first two and lost on the third. Fortunately for him, God cared for him more than he cared for God, and he's been given second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chances. But this is really pretty stupid. So vivid. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today, together with God's help, we will ensure the eternity of Israel. Bullshit, pal. Vivid is just the most reprehensible force on X. He is the most popular poster of propaganda on behalf of Israel, and every post that he posts is destructive of Israel, without exception. This is the man who single-handedly destroyed Israel's reputation in the world and isolated Israel, making it vulnerable, so that the state of Israel has been checkmated. It was checkmated in the Memorandum of Understanding. Checkmated. That means you lost. The game is over. You have no alternative. There's no play that you've got left, Israel. You've entered the time of trouble, and this man has blood on his hands. He is the one most responsible for the demise of Israel. And Vivid, you're out there promoting him. I mean, you are just a scoundrel. It's 1,000 shames on your house. And by the way, you do not have God's help. I know him personally, and he's disgusted with you. Yeah, how is it possible? Dr. Maloof asks, how is it possible? How in the hell does a city that faced the largest Islamic suicide bombing, world history, vote for a Muslim mayor? How in the world is it possible? And the answer, of course, is Dems became dumb. As bad as MAGA Republicans are, The Dems are no better. This is the terrible plight that America's in. It's like we talked about Israel. Israel has 20% of the population that are Marxists and 20% that are religious parasites. So 20% that have no clue as to what needs to be done in Israel to save the nation, and 20% that wouldn't lift a finger to save the nation. And you can't function that way. But America's worse. You have 40% of Americans that are Marxists and have their heads up their tuchus. And you have 40% of Americans who are MAGAs and have no head. No head, no heart. They are the ultimate zombies. I don't know which one's worse, but I can tell you can't save the nation when you have 80% of your people isolated into those two groups.
Yeah.
Can't be done.
That's right. No.
Yeah,
There is no lesser of two evils under those circumstances.
This
That is
so
how
simple.
it happened.
Mhm.
Yes,
This is so simple.
it is so simple. And you know, 9/11 was perpetrated by fundamentalist Muslims. They confessed to the crime. They shouted Allahu Akbar, and we found that 100% of the participants were Muslims, and they did it in the name of their God, Allah. There's no question whatsoever about it, and they did not corrupt their religion. Islam is a death cult and always has been a death cult. In fact, in the first 100 years of Islam, the religion killed 200 million people, which is 1/3 of the Earth's population at the time.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Where did they come from? All 19? Where did they come from?
I think it was 17
Saudi
of the
Arabia.
19 came from Saudi Arabia. 16, I think,
Arabia.
of the 19 came from Saudi Arabia. The others came from mosques that were in other places, and their heritage drew them in. I think there was one Lebanese Muslim, one Jordanian Muslim. But the locus of concentration was the land where Islam was born, Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Unbelievable. The tagline, 9/11, never forget, right? They have the Holocaust, never again. Okay. And the 9/11 tagline is never forget, and you forgot.
Yeah. That's exactly.
I don't think they forgot. I was in the front lines on this thing. Not only did I spend a lot of time at the top of the World Trade Center, giving speeches and other kind of business affairs there. I wrote the two most definitive books on Islam at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only person that interviewed Al Qaeda and lived to tell the tale. I did 10,000 radio interviews on this. I mean, I was in the midst of this fight, and I can assure you they didn't forget. They never understood.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, this is another POS. A government that puts foreigners above its own people, by definition, is treasonous and illegitimate. Elon Musk, he's South African.
Oops.
Yeah.
The largest immigrant social welfare recipient
project ever. And
This guy's been put on a pedestal like no other.
Yes, and whose companies now are either totally protected by or financed by or the product of U.S. government. There is no Tesla without the U.S. government, and them providing $7,500 for every Tesla sold for year after year, and having 100% tariff on any competition to Tesla. That's the only reason Tesla exists. Otherwise, it wouldn't. And you look at SpaceX. SpaceX doesn't exist without U.S. government grants and payments. So no, he is wholly dependent on the U.S. government, and he is not an American-born individual. He's South African. He's treasonous, by the way. Galatians. Oh my God. Galatians. Jessamine George, you are a total nincompoop. in the 5 books called Twistianity that I wrote against the religion of Christianity, this being an example of one of the 5, they are, as you can see there, the darker text is where I'm citing the Christian New Testament. I created my own translation of the earliest 69 manuscripts, the 69 manuscripts that predate Eusebius's Malfeasance. And I have 4 other translations mixed in with them, including the Nestle Allen McWilliams Interlinear, which is the most acclaimed. What I do is prove emphatically, overwhelmingly and undeniably that Paul lied, and his first letter was Galatians. He wrote the first 14 books of the Christian New Testament. The next 3 were written by his posse, his propagandists. He is the inventor of Jesus. He is the inventor of the religion of Christianity. He admitted to being demon-possessed, and the book of Galatians is an absolute clusterfuck. And that's the appropriate use of the verb. I don't very often use it, but it is the most biggest piece of shit ever written. And I cover every single word of it, and I prove every word of it to be untrue. And you cannot read Twistianity free, all 5 volumes, at yahowah.com and remain a Christian. It's overwhelming, the evidence, and undeniable. All you have to do is to point out 3 things. One is Paul constantly contradicts himself in Galatians and everything else. He uses all manner of rational fallacies, and he never once quotes this Jesus that he invented, that he claims he represents. Never once quotes him, ever. And he misappropriates the very testimony of the God he said authorized him, and he never got a single citation from Yahowah, even remotely accurate, and most of them are twisted to the point that in Paul's words, they say the opposite of what they actually do in the Hebrew text. Yeah. So there is no way to resolve any one of those problems. So if you want to promote Galatians or any one of Paul's letters, you're done. You have nothing to stand on. You have to be an ignorant and a fool to believe Paul over God, because they're in opposite camps. Mm-hmm. God actually calls Paul the plague of death in Chabok, 666 years before Paul wrote his first letter.
Yeah, this whole quote is just weird because it's all about God will reward for whatever thing, I guess. It's about timing, right? And so this idea that our timing isn't God's timing, or there shouldn't be a linear progression of I do X, Y, and Z, and so therefore the thing happens, right?
No, that's not the purpose of it. No, that's not the purpose of it. Religion's a really sneaky thing. What religion basically says is, okay, your life is not worth living. We have total control over our lives are great, but your lives are really shitty. But if you go along with this program and you continue to live this shitty life under our control,
just hang in
there.
there.
There'll be another life, and in that next life, you'll be rewarded for submitting to our control.
Yeah, especially if you don't bitch about how horrible things are right now.
Yeah.
It'll be wonderful
That is the nature of all religions, every single one of them. We're going to control you by acknowledging that we have made your life really shitty, but you'll get a reward in the next life. And the whole thing is, you suffer now, God will reward you for suffering later.
Mm-hmm. Just hang in there.
Just hang in. Of course, there's never been a delivery on that, but that's the lie that has underpinned all religions for all time. That is the lie that's being promoted here. Paul had no following, other than he had somebody that like Barnabas that was with him, and then he cursed Barnabas. He tried to win over Shimon Kefish, who's known now as Peter, and then he had to condemn him. And he was condemning Yahuwah and John. He condemned Jacob. When he finally is writing Timothy his last letter, he says, I've been abandoned by everybody. And his whole life was just a shit show. He was miserable. And no one believed him because, well, it was obvious he wasn't telling the truth. It's just same thing in the Quran. Those who knew Muhammad best, those who actually listened to him, those who knew Paul best, who actually listened to him, knew he was a bag of manure and wasn't even remotely telling the truth. And so he even had to use this line for himself. Okay, so everything has ever gone bad for me, but I have hope that it'll turn around. Well, of course it didn't. He died in Rome in 66 CE, completely alone and miserable. And if you believe him, you will die alone and miserable too.
I was just trying to juxtapose it with Yahweh's 7 Moed Mikre, the right timing of things, would not understand the right time.
No, there's no juxtaposition of anything. He was opposed to the Torah. So this is Hexus walking down. Boy, what an ugly hallway. I mean, God, look at that ceiling. I mean, reasonably low ceiling, all gray walls, no gray floor, linoleum, gray, faux gray walls, gray ceiling. I've seen tombs that are more appealing than this.
It looks like a mausoleum in there.
It looks like a mausoleum. Absolutely. As I said, I've seen tombs that look more appealing than this. And you have the secretary of assholes walking down, and somebody reports, just say to me one thing: how are you going to win this war? How are you going to win this war? He just walks right past him. And the answer is he can't answer the question because there is no way to win this war. There's literally no way to end the war. There is nothing America can do to prevail. That's why the 2 agreements, the one verbally that Trump accepted and the one that he signed, were surrender documents. The war cannot be won. There is literally nothing that can be done. And America really has 3 choices: to continue and to destroy the world in the process. World starvation and economic collapse will be the consequence worldwide if America continues the war. Second is to go back to the memorandum of understanding, which is to write a surrender document and agree to surrender. And number 3 is to do what we did with the Houthis. When America lost to the Houthis, we declared victory and sailed away. Those are the 3 options. There is not a 4th. Sorry for the Trump tush talkers at Fox, but there is no 4th option. That's it. And I'm not coming up with this as a Monday morning quarterback. I talked about this a year before the first American bombing, a year before the second. I've been talking about this for a long time because I knew it was inevitable, and I knew that it was an unwinnable strategy.
Yeah, it's best option. Just go away. Just pack up the tent and leave.
The best option is actually the Houthi option, which is that you acknowledge that we lost a lot of money in weapons systems and airplanes and drones and the like, and we made no impact whatsoever on the Houthis. And so what you do is you declare victory and you sail away. Now, when you do that here, you have a bigger issue because your bases have been destroyed in the area. Your relationships with the Arab fiefdoms that were essential for the petrodollar have been destroyed. The myth that the American military can prevail when it chooses to fight a war has been destroyed. You'll never regain the control over the Strait of Hormuz. That has been destroyed. And you're going to pay dearly for having destroyed Iran. And world economies will be destroyed. The petrodollar itself will be destroyed. So you're not going to be able to walk away and not have to deal with the aftermath of all of this. And so it is the best. It is the best option is just to leave and have and declare victory.
Yeah, I guess
Not going to happen at this point.
in that sense, the 320 billion pales in comparison to the economic damage to the dollar. Whenever Saudi Arabia says we're not on the Bretton Woods anymore, I guess you can dangle nukes in front of them and say, "Hey, keep up with the Bretton Woods agreement, and we'll give you nukes." I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, actually, Saudi Arabia has bailed on the Petrodollar agreement about a year and a half ago. They sell an enormous amount of oil in the Chinese yuan. So they've been off of it for a while. They still sell some in dollars, and to get their ships to transit through the Strait of Hormuz, they'll have to back even off of that. But they know they cannot trust the United States. They've been put in a terrible position. Their own fault. I mean, if you look at the rise and fall of Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, he went from being a nobody within that royal family to terrorizing every rival, including the actual heir apparent to the throne of Saudi Arabia. He was the biggest psychopath in that family, and he then played it into a position of power. There were world meetings to solve the Ukraine war, for all crying out loud, in Saudi Arabia. President of the United States and 2 terms in a row goes to Saudi Arabia before any other country. He had positioned himself as a kingmaker and as a serious player on the world circuit. And that's all gone. Now he's going to be lucky to survive his own people and the destruction of his country. So he has really been played for a fool, and couldn't happen to a worse guy. So there you go. But that's true up and down the private estates with flags that are so ruthless in that area. The United States doing this petrodollar deal with some of the worst thugs in the world. Yeah. But that's the United States. We have no morality. I always thought it was funny. You had the Golf Channel, and it was Randall Chambly would scream, "You can't have live golf because that's Saudi Arabia killed Khashoggi, and how can you have a golf league that's financed by somebody that would kill Khashoggi?" And here he's willing to have a golf league in the United States with a country whose president kills heads of state and bombs little schoolgirls. And he not smart enough to realize that if Saudi Arabia is spending their money for golfers to play golf, that's a hell of a lot better than them spending the money for anything else. But stupid reigns supreme throughout this country, particularly in the media. Nobody greater than Jesus. Well, sure. I must be, because I must be. And I have to be, since I killed it. I killed him, yeah. I absolutely
nobody greater than Yada.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you, there can't be anybody, well, I'm not going to say there's nobody greater than me, because Dode is clearly greater than me, and Yahowah is greater than Dode. But I will tell you that I killed your Jesus. And it wasn't even a difficult undertaking.
We sent our number 3 guy to take him out.
We sent our number 3 guy. We killed your Jesus. So, you ought not be bragging there. It was relatively easy. I mean, just the bottom line is that you can't create a religion through counterfeit, and everything about Jesus is a counterfeit. It's either counterfeit of Dode, who was the actual Messiah, Son of God, chosen one, and Savior, who fulfilled Passover by being crucified in 33 CE, and you just stole everything that he did. And then you stole ever more from Dionysus, the Greek pagan god, who was the model for resurrection and rebirth, and birth as a baby god on Christmas, and death during the vernal equinox. And so with Easter week, you even took the Easter name from his mother, the pagan goddess, the mother of God, the Queen of Heaven, Ishtar, which was Astarte. So everything about Christianity is a fraud, and it's exceedingly easy to prove. The 5 volumes of Twistianity. I killed Jesus, and I left nothing Nothing. There is not a shred of credible evidence that can be marshaled in favor of the myth. And by the way, it was God who asked me to kill him. Just thought you'd want to know.
Yeah.
Angel, welcome to heaven. There is no more sadness. Oh boy. And me. What about the ones that didn't make it? That didn't come with me. I'm sad for them. Well, here's the deal. You're not going to have a body in heaven. There's no gates in heaven. It's a 7-dimensional construct. So the moment, so long as you can't get beyond your body, and this guy, he's all about being black, and he wants the numbskull to be white. So he can't get beyond skin pigmentation. But until you can get past bodies and you understand the merit of a soul and the uselessness of a body, you are never going to understand heaven. But as it relates to no more sadness, that's not true. It's just not true. God is going to make certain that the things that he does during this next 7 years, particularly in the last 15 days, are so vivid that we will never forget. We just can't forget, because what we've done as humans is so reprehensible with religion. He does not want us to ever forget what the consequence was. So we're going to have vivid memories.
What would be the point of the experience? What would be the point of experience if you're going to forget it, right?
You're going to wipe it all out.
Yeah, you learn nothing. Why even go through it?
Right.
If it's
You can be joyful knowing that you have gone through a painful period. In fact, I think you can be more joyful having made it through a painful period, because you have more confidence and you have a comparison. And you have a comparison now. I mean, what is joy if there is no anxiety as the alternative? What is love if there is no hate? What is life if there is no death? You have to have that comparison to have an appreciation for the other side. So, no, there's an absolute memory of what has happened previously. And I've been on the other side of this, where I have said, you can't take with you all of the terrible things that have happened. They have to have been expunged somehow. But no, I don't think that's the case at all. I think that having overcome difficult situations is what makes us stronger. It makes us richer. It makes us more complete. It makes us men and women of character who have confidence and capability. And it gives us the contrast we need to appreciate where we're going and where we are.
So in heaven, Yada, there's going to have to be an ebb and flow like there is to life. The up and the down, the positive and the negative, the learning from what went wrong. So I would imagine, and I know I've talked to John Vogt about this. I mean, I would imagine that, as we embark upon, Sukkah and Shemaim, we may fail at things we try. There's going to have to be that overcoming of obstacles, coming back from failure. Because if you don't have that, you don't have anything. We can't, Paul talks about going from glory to glory. Oh, it's just one glory after another. You just can't get enough glory. That could not, you could never sustain
that'd be like that Twilight Zone
episode
where the person thinks they're in heaven because everything, they win the lottery, they get the date with the prettiest girl. They have their kids are hit home runs every time they come up to bat. And then the voice says, why do you think this is heaven? No, it's not possible. And the key things to understanding this is the myth of perfection. That this myth that has the errant rendering of tamim as perfect, as opposed to from the verbal root tamam, which means to complete, to finish, to fulfill, to continue on. God is not perfect. Otherwise, he never could have said, I regret having created Nasalma man. So God's not perfect. That makes him, by the way, interesting. It makes him capable of growing. It makes it possible for him to learn and for him to enjoy experiences with us. He is not looking for perfect in us. In fact, if we were perfect, then there'd be nothing he could do with us. There'd be no point to us existing, no point to going forward, nothing we could accomplish, nothing of value. So we have to be imperfect. We have to continue to learn and grow. The difference in Shamaim and 7 dimensions and now is that the level of consequence of us making a mistake is so much greater, because we could talk and think the entire universe out of existence. So we really have to be very well educated and exceedingly trustworthy to be put in that position. Now, that being the case, within those parameters, we're going to be able to do lots of things that some work out marvelously, some work out miserably, and somewhere in between. Because if we don't do that, what's the purpose of exploring? What's the purpose of life? So I think that you're right. It is not a glory to glory. It's an inglorious situation we're in here on Earth now, with man being so belligerent and obnoxious, to a situation where very few people are there, and they're in souls, and they're enormously empowered, but also enormously educated, and they're the most trustworthy of humanity. They're the one in 100 billion, well, not 100 billion, 1 in 100 million, who God says, I think this person is trustworthy to put in that position. But of course, there have to be tears. There have to be laments. For there to be joy, there must be sadness. For there to be love, there must be hate. For there to be success, you have to have failure, because everything will be in process. The in process is the whole concept of kalal, always doing, always contributing, always fulfilling. And so everything is in process. And if everything is in process, there have to be peaks and valleys.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be up here, everything's perfect, or there'd be nothing to do.
Yeah, that would get boring quick.
Not only boring, it'd be deadly. You can't live without growing. In fact, that whole concept, listen, learn, live, those three things go together. And if you know everything, there's no point in listening. If you understand everything, there's nothing to learn. And if you don't do those first two things, you can't live. And growth is essential to life. Things either grow or they die. So no, it's a complete misunderstanding of the nature of what God is offering us. So they're marching in the streets of the UK. Allah, Allah, who the F-bomb is Allah. It would do people some good, rather than just taunting folks, to actually know the answer to that question. But you look at this scene here, and the people in the street are celebrating Islam. Well, not all of them, but some of them are. You can see they have the head dress on and the scarves on and that sort of thing. So it's really an interesting mix. I don't know what this ragtag group is, but it's not very impressive. And it's just sad. You want to know who Allah is? Read Goddamn Religion. This is volume 1. There are 5 volumes like this. They are 825 pages apiece. In these books, I cover everything that can be known about Muhammad, about Allah, and about Islam. There's literally nothing that you can know about Allah and Muhammad and the inception of Islam from the Quran and Hadith that I do not present in those 5 volumes, and they are irrefutable. I base the entire case against Islam on Muhammad's and Allah's words and deeds. And I prove that Allah is not a God and Muhammad's not a prophet. And as a matter of fact, they are far worse than just not being those things. They're the antithesis of those things. So rather than chanting, fill your brain with some information that's useful. Okay, so this is my nemesis, online nemesis. And who would have thought that the online nemesis would have been a pro-Israeli poster? But he is, because he promotes everything that is destroying Israel. Universally, everything he posts is destructive to Israel. Here he's gloating over the magnificent sense of the Iron Dome used against a incoming barrage of drones from Lebanon, which would be like fourth generation or antiques of Iran hand-me-downs. And a lot of these things they're just building, off the shelf. They're buying Amazon drones and snapping explosives to them. So if they're making them for $500 and you're shooting a $100,000 interceptor at them, how are you going to win that war?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, how are you going to win that war?
Attrition does not work out. No.
In the battle, and this is just such straightforward and easy. In the battle between interceptor and missile, the missile always wins, even if the interceptor prevails, because the interceptor is anywhere from 5 times to 100 times more expensive than the projectile, whether drone or missile. And the drone or missile can be made in large numbers very quickly, and the interceptors are made in very small numbers at great expense over long periods of time. The interceptors are easy to overwhelm, and if you're dealing with someone like Russia or China or Iran, they're not shooting up dumb drones and missiles anymore. They maneuver. And the Iron Dome's success rate against current generation Russian or Iranian drones or missiles is damn near zero. Mm-hmm. It's in the 5% range. So it's an absolute illusion. Wow. And so when you promote something like this and you give Israel the illusion that they can continue to wage war with Iran, they've been sidelined now because they're checkmated, but they can continue to wage war, and that they're somehow protected by this invention, it's not true. It's just not true. And it's going to be a very bitter lesson for Israel. And I've been saying this for 5 years now. Once they came up with drones and missiles, and that became the ultimate means to war, then any nation that was going to hang on to piloted airplanes and crewed naval vessels was going to lose, because they're putting their money in the wrong place. And that those that were going to try to defend themselves with interceptors, as opposed to being offensive by being the leading manufacturer of drones and missiles, they were going to lose. Israel has made every possible mistake it could possibly make relative to piloted airplanes and submarines and tanks and helicopters and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, F-35s, F-15s, their Merkava tanks. Look at in the war with Lebanon. I mean, they lost a quarter of their tanks.
Mm-hmm.
No,
that's right.
Israel is equipped for a war that will never be fought, or that they will lose. But they couldn't deal with 10-7, could they? They couldn't deal with jihadists and tenny rompers.
Yep.
So guess what the Muslims learned from that?
Oh, yeah.
Overwhelm them with jihadists. Mm-hmm. That's why Iran's going to send 3 to 4 million in over the next 7 years. Israel's indefensible. And read the prophets. It's in Zechariah. It's in Yoel. It's in Hoshea. They all said the same thing. They all spoke of this flood of terrorists that's entering Israel during this 7-year period. Individually, it would be enough. Collectively, it's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here's Tel Aviv. It reminds us we had Dipo's beautiful scene of Tel Aviv in the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
This is Tel Aviv in 2026. And they're saying just how lovely it is and how much life. And look how young that population is there in Tel Aviv, all reasonably fit. Kind of looks like everybody's about the same age too, doesn't it? But
It's
so this
dark
is
out. The old people got the early bird special and went to bed. Come on.
Yeah, probably. Okay. The early bird special was the old people, and this is the 10 o'clock dining hour. Yeah, could well be that's the case. You'll notice here in this picture too, there are no rabbis or Haredim in this group either. These are likely fairly leftist Jews under 35 years of age in Tel Aviv, and they've got no clue what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 3 to 5 years from now, there'll be nobody doing that.
Yeah, their faith is in their imaginary Hashem, and then their faith is in an iron dome.
Not in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, well,
in Tel Aviv, they don't give a crap about a Hashem.
But their faith is in their IDF. Their faith is in their intercept, their iron dome.
Yeah, their faith is in that. Yeah, their faith is in the IDF. And their faith is not in their politician, because they would not support Netanyahu, not the majority of people in this scene. Yeah, this is pretty amazing. I wish they didn't have the six-pointed star, because that demeans the nation. But Israel is the only country accused of colonization by people who colonized half the known world at the time. The colonization, apartheid, and genocide perpetrated by Muslims as they fought at first the war of compulsion. First, during Muhammad's life, they attacked first his kin. So Muhammad savagely brutalized his own extended family. That's what he did first. They were the custodians of the Kaaba. He wanted the Kaaba. It was a religious scam. He wanted control of it. And he attacked his own people first and murdered them and gloated over terrorizing them. And the Quran in the 8th Surah glorifies Muhammad's abuse of his own family. From there, it's genocide against Jews. There were 3 Jewish communities in Arabia, the largest of them in Yathrib, which has been renamed as Medina. And Muhammad systematically robbed them, raped them, enslaved them, and committed acts of mass murder against them. And the thing they keep on screaming, Kabar, Kabar, Yehud, Kabar, that was the most miserable of all of Muhammad's dastardly deeds, what he did to the Jews in Kabar. And then from there, they fought the war of compulsion against all the rest of the Arabs in Arabia to force all Arabs in Arabia to submit to Islam or die. And then once they had all Arabs subdued, they began their wars of conquest, because Muslims don't work, they rob. And they managed to enslave or murder more than a third of the world's population in 100 years. A golden era of Islam, as they're enslaving, colonizing, brutalizing, robbing, raping the world. It's the most despicable ism ever conceived by man. It's a ruthless death cult based on slavery, with the reward being rape. Nothing worse in human history. And Marxism comes close, but still Islam is worse than Marxism.
You have here 57 Muslim states.
Yeah, 57 Muslim majority countries in the world. Sometimes it's listed anywhere from 55 to 57. But if you look at the swath of the world that Islam conquered and oppressed, and it was a river of blood, and they were absolute massacres. They killed 200 million people. And you look at the hell they perpetrated on places, and you look at Persia. Persia was one of the early victims of this. India, which is what caused the split of Bangladesh and of Pakistan, was a huge In fact, were more Indians killed by Muslims and during that 100-year period than people anywhere else in the world. It's just ruthless what they did, and they continued to do it for centuries, because the War of Compulsion began right around 700, right after Muhammad's death, and they were continuing to bludgeon Europeans all the way to the Battle of Tours, which is 18th century, 17th century. I mean, it goes a very, very long time, 1,000 years of a march of death. And yet the world's not moral enough, informed enough, rational enough to oppose this deadly, enslaving, deceitful, diabolical religion. And artificial intelligence isn't helping. You can't love God and hate Israel. First of all, they don't know who God is. And second, well, it is true that you cannot hate Israel and have a relationship with Yahowah. The fact is, you can hate the leaders of Israel, like Netanyahu. He does. So that's fully acceptable.
And we hate.
There's
I was going to say, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, you can hate the symbol, that six-pointed star. You can despise it too, and still have an affinity for the people who Yahowah, through a naming convention called Yisrael, and of some of whom were Yehudim, who have chosen to write him out of their lives. So they are if you talk about people that hate what God did with Yisrael and the naming convention and with the Yehudim, the foremost haters would be the Jews themselves.
I don't hate Jews or Israel, but I do find that over the last 2 or 3 years, I really despise what they've become. And they've really, and maybe this was Twitter, just dealing with them on Twitter and trying to reach out to them, and just their attitude towards Yahowah is it's really repulsive. It's harder. I found it a lot easier to love Yehudim up until just a few years ago. And then in dealing with them and seeing how they treat Yahowah, I'm trying to walk that balance of loving God's people, but they're really difficult. They're very difficult, especially when you have a relationship with Yahowah. To see him treated like that, it's just not acceptable.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's the hardest part of the whole thing. And every time you turn around, God is calibrating it to say, okay, so there's 15 million of them now. You're going to have maybe 1,500 in the remnant. So that tells you how God's calibrating the propensity of Jews to continue to hate him and to rebel against him. 1,500 out of 15 million. So that is the calibration for the final remnant, and the numbers that will be harvested will be, maybe 80 or so in the upcoming 2 harvests. I mean, it's not going to be a lot of people.
So what are we loving then? We're loving that mortal remnant, because certainly God doesn't love any of these people that aren't going to make it right now, right? I mean,
what we're loving is Yahowah and Dod, and one of the things that Yahowah wants is a kingdom for his son, and for that to occur, there must be these 2 harvests, and there must be a mortal remnant. The mortal remnant is not necessarily lovable; they're just neutral. We will pour ourselves into them and help them become lovable. But they're just neutral. And those who are harvested are lovable and trustworthy. But yes, and that is our goal. God would be insane to love the people who have treated him for 4,000 years like shit.
That's right.
They have done everything they can to annoy him, and they've done almost nothing to please him. Even during the time of Dod, which we celebrate, that maybe 10 years when he was a decent leader, and during that time he was mostly writing the Psalms, and it was hideous before then. There just are so few brief moments where Israel was decent to God. No, we cannot love what they have become.
Right.
No one can. God can't.
Yeah.
All we can do is we have a job, and our job is to complete the mission that God has given us, and the mission that He has given us is the mission we've had all along. The mission has not changed. To equip and prepare His firstborn to be deployed on the throne to manage and oversee this planet and the universe with a properly educated and properly attitudinal remnant. That is our job. And for that to occur, our focus is restoring Yahweh's name, restoring Dod's reputation, and speaking earnestly about the hellish conditions that exist in the world and in Israel, that we are in the time of trouble and what the 7 years is going to bring. And if you want to be part of tomorrow, you need to accept Yahweh and Dod, and to accept the covenant and the Moedim. We are spokespeople for those things. We can love all of those things and love the people who embrace those things. But that's the extent of it.
That's right.
I know it sounds difficult, but yes, boy, the more
Well,
time you
clearer.
spend, the more time you spend engaging. Here on X, you were a big part of trying to support that. I made 32,000 posts on X.
Yeah.
And what I said on X was really profound, pursuant to Yahweh, Israel, Donald Trump, Netanyahu. This war they found themselves in, the destruction of Gaza, the 2 bombings of Iran. I was a voice of reason. I was right 100% of the time, profoundly right about what I foretold was going to happen, and was consistently a moral voice trying to get their attention. 32,000 posts, and over a little over a year. Not a single intelligent, positive response.
Nope.
That's it's not just a tough audience. That's dealing with people who have been belligerent towards God for 4 millennia.
Yeah, and their hearts are greasy and like fat now, and they're useless. It's hard to get. It's almost impossible to get through to them.
Most of them are. And yet, God does not want us to give up.
That's right.
Yep. And then what you have to do is to say, so why doesn't God want us to give up when they're so reprehensible? When we've made this kind of effort and have so little to show for that amount of effort? And God's response would be, oh, what are you talking about? You have now somewhere north of 80 people who are prepared for me to elevate into the 7th dimension. That has never occurred before. Talk about, and they're educated, they're trustworthy, they have comprehension, they love my name, they love my son. That has never occurred on all of these 6,000 years. You have done that. What are you talking about? You haven't accomplished anything. My son is known again for what he did. My name is known again for who I am. The timeline is known again. The conditions of the covenant are known again. The purpose of the Moedim is known again. You've got an entire library of 30,000 pages of treasured insights regarding who I am and what we're going to do. You're prepared to train this mortal remnant, and you are going to deliver that mortal remnant. We're talking about you haven't succeeded. It's overwhelming, the level of success. And this notion that God wants more than that is a fundamental misunderstanding on human nature, because we humans have this tendency to think that if something isn't popular, it isn't right. And we falsely think if something's popular, it is right. And the opposite is true. God made that point very early on. Where there are many men, there are only evil men.
Yeah.
Where there are many men, there are only evil men. God is not interested in there being many of us.
Nope.
He wants few of us, because with few of us, there's the opportunity for us to be good. Where there are many of us, there is no opportunity. We're always bad. So to deliver, even if we deliver 80 people that are fully prepared and engaged and trusted to be part of the Shavuot harvest, or if it's 800 or if it's 8, it's still more than at any other time ever. And the quality of those people will be more extraordinary than any other time. And you've gone from a single or 2 people deployed in support of one to a family. And that's a big family. And those are people that are going to make a tremendous difference. And so God's thrilled with the result. It's our calibration that sometimes gets in our way.
Yeah. He measures success differently, Yahowah.
Yes, he does.
He's got a different set of standards. Yeah.
Yes, he does. And he's thrilled with what we have achieved. And the fact is, it wouldn't be better. It would be worse if there were 8,000 instead of 80. And by the way, I know there's 150 some odd people, 160 people that are signed up on the Yahowah website, and I'm sure there's many more around the world who just haven't signed up that are very well appraised of what we have come to know, and could well be a covenant and could be doing things quietly to earn God's trust. And so the number could be much larger, and it could also be that God's saying, there's some people here that are in the right company, but they really haven't done enough for me to say I trust that individual going forward. And but for those individuals, the Shavuot harvest is not the end all. There's the Towrah ingathering, and then there's the 2 remnants, one large, one small, on the afternoon of Towrah. So there are many more opportunities to get going. And we've just recently created a huge platform. And in fact, the 2 of you guys are leaders in it. Kevin's the coordinator of it, and you're one of the most prolific contributors to it, probably the most polished of the contributors to it. And so we've created the platform where it's now possible for more people to earn God's respect and trust. Talk about a good thing. That's more than applause worthy.
Yeah.
So I know we're doing what we should be doing, and what we have to be very, very careful of is that that even though the government of Israel is wrong, and the religion of Judaism is wrong, and the societal customs that there are wrong, and the Marxism politics are wrong, even though all those things are true, and that they have written God out of their lives, there's going to be a remnant. There will be a remnant of them, and we will have 1,000 years to bring them through the garden experience.
Yeah, get them up to speed.
But between now and then, we need to be a strong voice against Judaism and Israeli and American world politics. We have to be a strong voice against conspiracy. Conspiracy today is as big a menace as is religion and politics. So they're all 3 horrible menaces. We talked before the show about conspiracy, and the reason that God is so opposed to conspiracy is that conspiracy is born out of a horrible human condition, and that horrible human condition almost always manifests itself the same way. And that is that every bit of research has ever been done on conspiracy has shown the same thing that I learned way before the internet. I'm so old, I existed before the internet, and I actually figured this out before there were any labels for it. And that is that somebody who is unhappy with their life, they feel like they have been victimized. They feel that the world has somehow harmed them and that they didn't deserve what has happened to them. Many of these people would be what's called cluster B personality disorders, but it's B also universal and psychopathy. That people that every research of the people who are part of conspiracies have only one thing in common. That is, they have miserable lives. They feel like they have been victimized, and they're looking for someone to blame for their victimization. And the problem with that is that if they actually find someone that is supportive, and here I had an episode this week where someone is blaming me for harassing them, when in fact I was, again, probably the most supportive person they've ever encountered. And I posted, just in rebuttal to it, the first 18 pages of our communication together before they went apeshit. And if you read those 18 pages of every comment, every single comment I made is there. They are universally supportive. They're kind, they're uplifting. They're incorporating this person into this company, even though there were signs all the way along that this person suffered from the myth of victimization. And they were looking to blame someone else for their failures, their lack of success, their misery and miserable lives. And what they end up doing is that the very people that actually treat them nicely, this was the mother goddess of the mother goddess cult. She was the prime example of this. I did more for her than anyone in her life. And what do they do? They're so insecure that they want to tear down the very person that is giving them the lifeline. And what they do is they turn on that individual and start slandering them. And when you finally say, well, I can't deal with this anymore, and you reject them for their slander, and their repulsive positions, they say, see, I knew it all along. They couldn't be trusted. And that's how it all comes about. And God himself has had to deal with this. And his own people have gone through this very cycle with him. And I've gone through it 100 times in my life. And it always plays out the same way. And what God realized is the same thing I've come to realize, that there is a 0% possibility you can ever fix this. Once the person turns to conspiracy and they play the victim role and they blame you when you've been nothing but kind to them, it's over. You cannot fix them. They're not 1,000 psychiatrists can't fix them. There is nothing you can do with them other than to ignore them. And even then, that's painful. But if you try to support them, they will double down on their vitriol. And if you try to criticize them, they'll triple down on their vitriol. And so all you can do is ignore them. And unfortunately, they can't let it go because they're emotional vampires. And they will just pick and pick and pick at it. And well, you've seen how just disgusting it was this past week. And you've witnessed how disgusting it has been with the psychopath that leads that mother goddess cult, and how she has played so many fools around them. And it's the exact same thing over and over again. And God has had to endure it, and he hates it. And he can't fix it. He can't fix it. I can't fix it. You can't fix it. Now, I told you before the show, the single biggest problem of all of this isn't the irritation, because it does create scar tissue. Particularly a fellow like me who's been so out there trying to help lift people up.
Yeah.
And have asked nothing for it. And have tried to encourage and support so many people. Is that you experience 100 people or more do this kind of thing. Ultimately, the scar tissue builds up to the point where it becomes very difficult to care, to put yourself back in that position. Because you know that you're making yourself susceptible. It's the person that's insecure that's looking for the praise, and you accommodate them, and you try to help them through this to feel better about themselves, and they're the first people to turn on you. And you do that enough times and watch that experience, you get calloused. And you can't be that calloused and complete this mission. And it's kind of why God backed away. He knew that if he continued to expose himself to it, he couldn't do what he needs to return. I suspect it's part of why I've been deployed and retracted and deployed and retracted, because for a long period of time you can't deal with it. And I can't allow myself to think that I'm at the end of my rope on people like this. I'm going to continue to have the exact same view, which is, for example, with the Mother Goddess cult, I was nicer to her, more supportive, and offered her more than anyone else in her life, and I don't regret doing it. With this most recent renegade, I did the same thing to her, and I don't regret doing it. So long as I don't regret having invested in people that later turned belligerent, then there's still energy left in the tank to go on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But with each time, I do grow a little more serious, a little less tolerant. I'll cut that line in the relationship sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Well, time is short.
Yeah.
Well, it's self-preservation.
We don't have time for them. Yeah.
It's the stakes are too high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that time is short is good, because I can't keep this up all that much longer. So I'm rather glad that time is short. But it's the importance of all of this that puts us in a position where we have to be able to have energy in the tank to continue to love, to continue to care, to continue to try, even when it blows back in your face and you get it. Okay, we're going to play People. This is my wife's most recent song. I don't know who she dispatched it to do the graphics, but
No graphics.
But well, this currently has no graphics. But I can't imagine this not being sent off to Dipo. Although Dipo did a collaborative effort with Mariah here recently, and I know that there's a lot of avatars and things that Matt is making these days with Leah. So it may be a collaborative effort, but this currently has no graphics. This is the first. I mean, I've loved Leah songs. We played them with the whole show yesterday. Was Leah songs. We've done a song fest one night where for 2.5 hours all we did was play Leah songs. So I think Leah songs do a better job than I do in terms of conveying the message. So I'm very positive on her songs, and I'm always admiring the fact that she can go from songs of criticism, biting criticism, to loving situations one moment to the next, and she can do everything from jazz to island tunes that have the beat of the South Pacific or the Caribbean, and then she can go to ballads, and it's just amazing the range of genres that she can create music. Now, this one is different than anything else she has done. No, they're all different, but this one is really different. Now, this is Tchaikovsky meets Barbra Streisand. If Tchaikovsky and Barbra Streisand walked into a bar and decided, let's make a song together. Let's do a duet. So Tchaikovsky, probably my favorite. He and Rachmaninoff are my two favorite classical composers because of the passion in their music, the melody that is in their music. This is, and I've been listening, by the way, to a lot of classical music at night. It's kind of a way to unwind a little bit. It recharges the soul. It adds a little class in a world that is so downtrodden. It's just a little cleansing thing that I do at night. And when I've been listening to classical music and read the best of classical performances, and I walked in and I listened to this beginning of the song, I said, that is actually better than any one of the classical composers that I have listened to over these last few weeks. And then the voice comes out, and my favorite female voice is Barbra Streisand. And in fact, Barbra Streisand has really become an extraordinary woman in her own right. She has taken some really highly moral stands. I'm very impressed with her. But her voice is, I think, the purest, boldest female voice I've ever heard. And And of course, it's interesting that Barbra Streisand's most famous song is "People," but this one takes a very different approach to that. There's no plagiarism on any tune that Barbra Streisand has ever sung or the lyrics that Barbra Streisand has ever sung. And this is not Barbra Streisand's voice. It's just I would introduce this as to say this is Tchaikovsky meets Streisand, the best of both.
People who chase people are the loudest people in the room. We're talking, always talking, never listening, and yet letting ego hide all the truth inside, acting more righteous than right. Critics are very certain people, they're the loudest people in the world, with one target, one very easy target, a feeling deep in their chests as they know all the rest. No need to examine first, just be a voice that needs to curse. People who predate people, voices that need a villain, are the weakest voices in the room, with one mirror, one very honest mirror, feeling deep in the soul, says they're fragment, not whole. People who hate certain people, who mix lies and religion, conspiracy and coercion as manufactured consent to deceive people. No more truth and no more light till they stop the fight. Voices that deceive are the weakest voices in the room. People are most deceived in themselves and to their ends. People.
Wow.
No.
Dare I say that was, it's hard to compare. She's written so many songs, but that may have been one of her most compelling songs to date. I mean, you can feel it in your soul. It just...
this is like Yahowah
elevates it.
Looking out at the world, sitting beside Noach in heaven, and having seen the son that he conceived not measuring up, and one not being good, and two being horrific when Towrah was added to the mix, and then seeing four become murderous, and then many become preoccupied with evil, so that God looked down and said, people, I regret having created people. That is what this song says to me. That the preponderance of people are evil. The preponderance of people are counterproductive. And it's the loudest people in the room that are the worst. And through politics and through religion and through conspiracy, the loudest, shrillest voices prevail in luring so many away from God, away from the truth, away from a productive, fulfilling life. Now, she did change this song a lot from the first time I heard it. The first time I heard it, there was a 2-minute orchestra introduction that was just powerfully classical in its creation. This gets right to the vocal and to the message very quickly. So it's a very different song than the first one that I heard. It's maybe more emotional this way. It was certainly more powerful, I think, the other way. It's one of my favorite songs is written by a scumbag. Wagner was the author of it, but the Ride of the Valkyries, and it's her introduction was on par with Ride of the Valkyries. So anyway, this doesn't have that orchestra. It has the orchestra and it has a classical bent to it, not quite as powerful or in terms of the orchestra as the original version of it, but the voice is probably better than it was in the original version that I heard. The lyrics are really, really good. It goes right to the heart. The problem of the world today is people, and it's the preponderance of them. That's why there's going to be so very few that are going to be part of the Shavuot or Towrah harvest and the final remnant, as well as the Goyim who service the millennial Shabbat. By the way, they will be working on the millennial Shabbat, so just to keep that in mind. Wow. What do you think there, Kevin?
I like it. A lot of big words in there that it takes me. It's difficult for me to reconcile the poet, because I'm going to be really honest with you. In general, I don't listen to lyrics. In general, I am 100%. I just throw lyrics out of most of everything. The person singing is only there to be another musical instrument, a lead musical instrument in my mind most of the time. So this one was. I love the feel of it. Good dynamics on it. Up, down, quiet, so it's solid that way. I enjoy the dynamics of it. It was very you say Wagner, you like your Tchaikovsky. I think it's Holtz, Gustav Holtz, that does the planets series, and Mars is like that. His tribute is just, that epic sounding big guns,
Yeah, it's big guns.
So
it's epic.
I love this.
Even with violins, how do violins create the big gun and the epic sound? But she's got the violins carrying this, and I think it is epic. I'm a lyrics guy. You wouldn't have known it, right? I never met a word. I never met a word I didn't like.
Right.
I tell Leah I'm unfaithful to her all the time because I have a love affair with words. So yes, words are my thing. And although they did appear here on this quick rendition of it, and they'll be much more pronounced when we have the graphic backdrop for it. But lyrics are my thing. I love lyrics when they're delivered powerfully with the right voice and with the right instrumentation. So we go at it a little bit differently. But I would say that the things I find the most inspiring, even though Wagner was an anti-Semitic scumbag who was beloved by Hitler, who worked him into his propaganda for the Third Reich. The most despicable but spectacular movie scene maybe ever, which is the Ride of the Valkyries being played as the Huey helicopters come into the beach in Vietnam, and an Apocalypse Now. Which depicts just the horrific nature of America's war in Vietnam. There is something that's just enormously stirring about it that goes right to your heart. And it's like, 2001: A Space Odyssey. That is really powerful music. You cannot listen to that and not be influenced by it. There are Tchaikovsky's Sixth, Pathetic, is another one of those that has a soaring melodic tone that you hear it and you are changed by it. There is music like that. I think there's today there are a number of songs that, well, I would say going back 10 and 15 years, but Phantom of the Opera is an example. The Fiddler on the Roof, Sunrise, Sunset, The Impossible Dream. The collaboration to create the Exodus song. There are songs that really can take you to another place. And I think she's done a nice job here, and she's tried to do it without being, if you listen to the Barbra Streisand song, she was people who need people. It's the opposite message.
Yeah.
People who need people, the luckiest people in the world. And what she's saying, no, that's not true. If you're a person that needs people, you're in real trouble because people are pretty creepy.
Yeah.
And the more of us there are, the worse we become, which means there's more of us now than ever before, and the world's in worse shape now than ever before. And so says she's siding with God, and she says the problem is people, and whether it's conspiracy or religion or politics, it's people. They are the source. They're the host of those things. Pretty cool song.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a stirring festival when it is produced, and I've heard various themes for what's going to be developed for it. But I imagine it's going to. I mean, I've heard black and white, and black and white is okay, but it needs to be like the Wizard of Oz, where because of the power of this, it would have to break out of the black and white and become Technicolor. Yeah. So, the Wizard of Oz is famous because it begins and everything is in black and white, and then it moves to Technicolor. It would have to be done like that to carry something this powerful in terms of the music. But spectacular. Good way to end this program. We have a delightful treat here. One of my good friends, the person I met when I came to the island, he's an international artist. He'd been part of this remodel project on our house and now just beautifies it and keeps it up. His name is Tibby, and he went out yesterday to catch red snapper, deep ocean red snapper beneath 500 feet. And he has a special recipe for ceviche. People don't know what ceviche is, but you cook the fish in lemon and lime, and then you add to the fish a mix of onions and peppers and tomatoes and jalapenos and cilantro and the like. And it just happens to be one of my favorite dishes is ceviche when it's prepared as a ceviche salad. So that is what we're going
like
to.
That would be remarkable.
Fresh, caught yesterday and prepared for ceviche salad as we speak. And so I'm going to go and enjoy
you.
Yep. So maybe we'll play a little Leah's music in the background. But thank you so much, Will, for being part of this. And I know that it's been a little bit of a challenging week in what we've gone through. But you're always stronger and taller when you survive the challenges. And this one wasn't much to survive. This was just a brief annoyance, and it's gone. But overall, pretty spectacular. I just finished the last of the translation of Hoshea, Isaiah 10, going into to 11, and it ends with yet another title. God's got an entire chest. I mean, it's a treasure chest of titles, but He's got yet another one, and it's really powerful the way that He brings us to this crescendo of the most interesting person, and all of the Torah and prophets is the Choder for having the 7 spirits of Yahowah, and writing the Nesh and serving as the tree of knowledge. It's the most interesting character in the story. And the preamble to it, which is the 10th chapter, turned out to be even more interesting than the prophecy in the Twitter itself. So I'm delighted to have reached this point in my time off between vlogs. Thank you, gentlemen. Well,
all right. Thank you.
Be
Yada.
back with you
you,
later this afternoon. What'd you say there,
Looking forward
Will?
to it.
Yep.
Said, see you, Kevin. Looking forward to your vlog presentation tonight.
Yeah, and I enjoyed your dissertation on the Yod, which I think wasn't the Yod your last?
Thank you.
Yeah, vlog. Yeah.
Yep. Yod.
That was really a
Mem
good. That was really a smart
one.
choice.
We got another one.
I was going to say the whole idea of going and using the 119th, which goes through each alphabetical letter, was really what a great choice.
All right.
Well, you know,
lunchtime.
a funny story about that. All right. I'll tell you
Rich,
another time.
Rich.
I don't want to get into it. I know. I'm the only thing
Rich
between
is
you
hungry.
and your ceviche right now. Yeah, he's dying over
Okay,
there.
Rich is Rich is
Rub
thin
Rich's
as
belly.
Rich is thin as a rail, and I'm not. And at every meal, Rich eats 3 times more than I do.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened in terms of
It's a high
metabolism.
metabolism. Yeah.
But Rich is literally skin as a rail, and he eats enough for 5 people. So yes,
I used to be 250 pounds.
we are literally eating into Rich's time with the ceviche. So we'll have to tell the story of how you ended up with the 119th at another time. Thank you very much.
Enjoy
We'll look
your
forward to
lunch.
being with you tomorrow.
See you
Bye.
guys.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.